Welcome everybody to today's session of Junior Achievement's Women's Future Leadership Academy. I just want to do a quick mic check. So those of you who are active on the chat room, if you can hear me, just drop a little line saying, yes, I can hear you. That always makes me feel a little bit better. Excellent. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, students. We appreciate it. So welcome back. My name is Christy Biedron. I am with Junior Achievement, again, here back for another fantastic session of the Women's Future Leadership Academy, where we're going to be talking about communication and conflict management and how to effectively manage conflict and resolve conflict using great communication skills as a leader. We have some fantastic mentors who are joining us today. So later on the program, you'll get a chance to use your cameras and microphones and network and learn from our mentors who have joined us. So we are very happy to have all of you here. For now, we're just using the chat box. We have a featured speaker, Olivia, from one of our college facilitators, who's going to be speaking in a little while. But for now, we just ask you to all please use that chat box to say hello. And later on, we'll be able to use our cameras and microphones. So huge thanks again to our program sponsors. Without these organizations, we would not be able to have this fantastic program every week. Our presenting sponsor, Sanofi, as well as huge thanks to our program sponsors, ADP, AIG, Janssen, New Jersey Resources, Carney Bank, CNBC, State Farm, Allstate, AmeriHealth, AT&T, CDW, Crow, Deloitte, Johnson & Johnson, L'Oreal, PSE&G, Realgy, Santander, Subaru, Valley Bank, and Lockheed Martin. Thank you to all of these fantastic organizations and our mentors who are joining us today. Upcoming sessions, we are continuing the program to June, and we have added Wednesday sessions for those of you who might have a conflict now on Tuesday. The Wednesday sessions are a repeat of the previous day. Next week, we have Know Your Worth on June 15th and 16th, and that's all about how to advocate for yourself, how to make sure you've got a seat at the table. June 22nd, we have a special session, Financial Empowerment, hosted by Women in Security. Integral our leaders on Tuesday 2nd at 2 o'clock. And then we wrap up the 29th and 30th session, Achieve Your Goals. Visit our, sendyourproject.com. If you haven't done so already, there's still time, and you can get information about the Certificate of Leadership, how to become a WFLA student ambassador, and to register for any of the upcoming sessions right there on our website, janjacademy.org. So what are we going to do today? Again, we're in the midst of the welcome. We're going to talk a little bit about communication and conflict management with our featured speaker. And then we're going to move to WebEx meeting for breakout sessions. Sorry, that should say breakout sessions. And then we will come back together for closing remarks just before 3 o'clock. So conflict management and resolution. Now, again, we're going to use the chat room here, and we're going to ask all of you on the line, all of you who are mentors and students, have you experienced conflict before in the workplace, or have you experienced conflict at school? Chances are everybody will say yes, because you know what? Conflict happens, especially when you get a large group of diverse people together. Conflict resolution is the process of working out a dispute or agreement. And as we all have probably learned, if you ignore or avoid or overlook unresolved conflicts, that can do permanent damage to personal and professional relationships. So knowing how to manage conflict, how to manage it and work together is crucial in school, college, and in your career. Good news, conflict can be positive. Working through conflict leads to growth. When you work together in a team, your team members can learn to appreciate each other, learn how to work better, and you learn important lessons about cooperating and collaborating with others when you manage this conflict. So be proactive. Conflict can serve to question the normal way of doing things and result in new and better products and solutions. So it's really a process of being innovative. And then finally, having a story about how you resolved a conflict with a positive outcome and learned a lesson from it is valuable for use in interviews. So students, if you have been able to manage conflict effectively and have a story to tell about it, that's a great thing to talk about when you find yourself in a job interview, because employers are looking for people who can effectively manage and resolve conflict. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to stop sharing this, and I'm going to show you a something from Junior Achievement's new learning platform, which will walk us through how to effectively manage conflict. So hopefully everybody can see this. This is from Junior Achievement's self-guided resource called JA Connect Learning Pathways. And this activity, we're going to go through this together, and we'll be able to learn a little bit more about conflict using this platform. All right, thank you, Aaliyah. We appreciate it. Okay, so here are some tips for handling conflict. There's a lot of information here. We're going to go through it very quickly, but you'll have a chance to kind of go over this in detail later in the breakout sessions with your mentors. So these are some tips for handling conflict. 1, accept that conflict is normal. It does happen. 2, like we mentioned before, don't ignore it. It's very important to address it so that you can work out a solution and move on. Finally, make sure it really is a problem. Sometimes we kind of invent problems in our head. So make sure that it really is a problem and it's something that needs to be worked out. Number 4, can you solve this with that person? Make sure you're talking to the right person when you're addressing a conflict. Make sure that it's the right person that you're talking to, and also pick the right time and place. If you're having a conflict with somebody, or if there's an issue with somebody, you don't want to just go up to them out of nowhere and say, we need to talk about this right now. If you want to try to work out a conflict with somebody, you want to approach them in a way that kind of shares what you want to talk about, and say something like, can we maybe meet tomorrow at 2 o'clock because there's something I want to talk about. It's very important that you pick the right time and place. Number 6, stay calm. Sometimes that's easier said than done, right? But if you stay calm, don't let things agitate you. You're much better able to work out a conflict if you remain calm and focused. And then really listen to the other person. Use those active listening techniques. That person has their own side of the story, and we really can't come to a complete resolution if we don't take the time to hear that story. Number 8, don't make it personal. It's very hard not to take things personally sometimes. But again, this could be part of a story that you're making up in your head. So make sure you're being objective and that you don't make it personal. Number 9, make sure everyone is heard and respected. And again, this is especially if you're a leader and you're working with a group. It's very important to let everyone's viewpoints be known, because again, everybody has their own side of the story. Everybody sees things in a different way. And then finally, once it's over, drop it. If you've come to a solution, if you've come to an agreement, then that's a great thing, and you can just move on. You don't want to go back to, oh, remember that time when this happened. You want to make your resolution and then drop it, move on, so you can move forward. Okay, now we've got a couple questions here that I'm going to ask you in the chat. So these are some questions for you. I'm going to read them, and then you can choose your best answer in the chat room, and we'll see if we're right or not. So here's a scenario. Imagine Jamila developed a product with Honore. She did all the design work while Honore managed production. Honore is now telling coworkers that this is her successful project. Jamila is frustrated. She feels like she deserves credit for her part of the project. What should Jamila do? Okay, so we've got some choices here. Should Jamila go directly to her supervisor? Should she let it go? It's not a big deal. Should she discuss the issue with Honore? Or should she tell coworkers what Honore has done? Okay, great answers here. I see a lot of you have chosen that. So we're going to go with that. And yes, you're right. Ignoring the problem won't help resolve the conflict, nor will gossiping about the problem with her coworkers. On the other hand, this is not an issue that requires a third-party decision maker. So that's why you don't want to go to your supervisor. You want to work it out there with Honore. Nicely done, everybody. Here's another one, handling conflict. Miguel has been asked by his supervisor to move large, heavy items from a high shelf using an unsafe ladder. When he complained about the issue, he was told, "There's nothing we can do about it." Miguel will need a third-party maker to resolve, a third-party decision maker to resolve this conflict. What do you think? True or false? All right, I see a lot of answers here for true. Let's see how we do here. Yes, the answer is true. So Miguel has already determined that this is a real conflict, and he has not ignored it. He tried unsuccessfully to resolve the issue with his supervisor. Now it's time to seek third-party resolution. So again, he was asked by his supervisor to move dangerous items, which he felt was unsafe. And so he addressed the problem, didn't get a solution, and because there was a safety issue, it was okay for him to seek a third-party resolution. Nicely done, everybody. So you see how conflicts, depending on the nature of the conflict, you want to manage, there's different ways to manage it. Okay, last question. Handling conflict, Raul sat down at Kylie's table in the lunchroom to discuss a conflict they've had at a meeting earlier in the day. This was a good choice of time and place. So there's Kylie sitting down. Raul comes over and wants to address the conflict. Is this a good time and place? True or false? So this is a tough one. I see a lot of people saying false, so we will go with that. And yes, the answer is false. So by addressing the conflict in a public location of his own choosing, Raul has made it very difficult to discuss the issue calmly and respectfully. Again, Kylie was just sitting there minding her own business at lunch, eating her lunch, and Raul sat down and wanted to address it right then and there. So this was probably the not a good choice of time and place on Raul's behalf. Okay. Oh, there's one more. Okay. Alex has turned up late for his wait staff shift for the second time in a row. So Alex, you're late twice in a row now. Amanda is angry because she is asked to cover for him. How should Amanda bring up the issue? Should she say, "We need to talk about this right here and right now"? Should she say, "Don't talk, just listen to me"? Should she say, "Can you come in early tomorrow to talk"? Or should she say, "The problem is that you're lazy"? So we'll call those 1, 2, 3, and 4. Oh, you guys all know the answer. Look at this. You guys are experts. Can you come in tomorrow early to talk? Yes, that is the right way to address that. To successfully address the conflict, Amanda should set up a private conversation and listen to Alex respectfully. Even though she's mad that he's done this now twice, it's still important to find a place and time to handle it respectfully. Okay, nice job, everybody. I'm going to stop sharing this now. And again, that was part of Junior Achievement's learning platform called JA Connect Learning Pathways, which will be readily available for everybody starting in the fall. So stay tuned to hear more about that. Nicely done, everybody. And now I would like the opportunity to introduce one of our featured speakers for today. So some of you may or may not know that we have engaged college students during part of this series to kind of join us and help out during the breakout sessions or help us think of great ideas. And we've had a number of really wonderful college students who have joined us. And Olivia has been here for a lot of the sessions, and Olivia really has an interesting background in business and finance and what she's doing. So I asked Olivia to kind of join us today and sort of give her own perspective as a college student as far as conflict management. So I'm going to introduce Olivia and ask Olivia to say a few words and talk a little bit about her experience managing conflict or dealing with some of these things in her perspective. So Olivia?
Hi, Christy. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. So before I dive in, I'll just say a few words about myself. As Christy said, I am a graduated senior now, so no longer a college student from Rutgers University. I majored in finance and minored in econ, and I'll be going to work for the Bank of New York Mellon in their Client and Strategy Leadership Program, which is super exciting. And if anyone's thinking about Rutgers or Bank of New York Mellon, definitely feel free to reach out. Throughout high school, throughout college, and different professional experiences, the topics we've talked about today, conflict resolution and professional communication, have been at the forefront of work, classes, clubs, activities, internships, jobs, whatever it might be. And in order to effectively solve conflicts with professors, classmates, colleagues, roommates, whoever it might be, you need to rely on your professional communication skills, and you also need to develop your executive presence, as we've talked about in earlier sessions. So just to give a refresher, executive presence is really thinking about how you communicate with others, how you listen to others, and how others experience and perceive you. So to give an example of a time I had to use communication and executive presence as anecdotes or solutions to conflict, one of those was in an internship of mine. And I was working on a project, I can't disclose the details, with a colleague of mine. And while the colleague was a really independent worker, myself and the rest of the team were more collaborative. And so the project that we were tasked with was something that the two of us had to work on together. So the conflict in this situation was that we had different communication, leadership, and teamwork styles and weren't working as effectively together as we needed to meet the deadline and get the project done. Rather than go to my boss or get upset or work on it by myself, I asked, as we saw in some of the examples, to have a meeting with my colleague and really talk about what we can do together and what I could do personally to make us be a more effective team. By having that conversation, we were able to establish projects that we could work on separately, as well as together, delegate tasks and meet the goal, which was completing the project on time. So just to summarize this example real quick, if you have a conflict, remember to rely on professional communication and maintain a respect and positive atmosphere through, clear and concise communication. Thank you, Christy.
Thank you, Olivia, for your excellent advice and sharing your perspective with us. And again, for joining us for all of these sessions. We really do appreciate it. You've added such value to our series, and the other college students have joined us as well, and we thank you for that.
Absolutely, it's a pleasure.
Excellent, thank you. So a couple more things I wanted to talk about before we go into our breakout sessions. As a leader, we've talked so far about managing conflict at the workplace. Olivia shared her thoughts. But as a leader, there's other strategies to manage conflict. And if you are a leader in an organization, which I'm sure all of you will be one day, there are some different strategies that you can use to really bring out your leadership skills as you manage conflict, especially with a team. Win-win conflict resolution. Again, we touched on this a little bit earlier, but just to reiterate, practice active listening. Concentrate on what each person is saying and restate what they say to ensure you understand it. Use empathy. Set aside any personal feelings about the other people. Be respectful and try to see things from their point of view. Agree on the facts. In a company, different people know different things, so have everyone share what they know. And then finally, find creative solutions. To solve a problem together, use critical thinking and collaborative brainstorming. So again, this win-win conflict resolution is something that you can use as a leader, using all of your leadership skills, all those great communication skills and listening skills to really come to resolutions that are win-win for your organization. And then finally, collaborating to find a solution. So if you're working together with a large team and you really want to work together to find a solution, these are the steps that you can take. Listen to each other's points of view, list the options, take a vote on each option to narrow down the list, discuss the remaining options, giving everyone a voice, take another vote, and finally have a final discussion to refine the wording of the agreed upon solution. Now, we have gone through a lot of conflict management techniques here. A lot of great content, a lot of information. Again, students, if you missed something, These sessions, this session is being recorded and you will be able to watch it on our YouTube channel.